I'm alive! The real Curtis is alive. Hello, secret second channel, the very quiet second channel. It's been a little while since we put a video up on here, and that's mostly because of the sponsorship that's been going on for the first channel. So I was planning on putting the monthly content reports on this channel, however, I just didn't have time to do the October one, so I might be able to go over some of the stuff that we did in October now. Alright, so obviously on the main channel, starting in October, we had the tips for building an amazing portfolio. It's a discussion video, so as expected, it doesn't do too well, but that's fine because I think in one of the previous videos we anticipated that anyway. And then around this time there was this kind of purgatory moment where I was in discussions for doing the Nvidia PC Specialist sponsorship, which is indicated by the little green ad icon in the bottom left corners of the thumbnails. And that discussion time was taking a while, and I thought, well, I'm not just going to waste time waiting for, responses. So I ended up starting working on Biogen. So I put that video out. Biogen V9 is coming, biggest update yet. And right after this video came out, like almost immediately afterwards, we found a way that I could agree on the sponsorship, so then that series began. So it's 7 videos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so there's one more to come, and then that'll be the end of the sponsorship. This does mean, however, that I've had to put some types of content to the side, because there have been quite a lot of things going on in the community that I would have liked to have spoken about. Certain new add-ons, new channels popping up, new content series, and just other cool projects as well, but that would take people away from the videos. And obviously I can't really do that if there's a sponsored link in the video as well, because the idea is to get people to click on that link. Same thing in regards to sharing files as well. I can't really share files on those videos. So there's quite a long list of content that I would have wanted to make in between that, and I'm going to hopefully catch up on those once the last video's out. Some other things that have been happening recently is I've been dealing with some legal issues, not in regards to me. I mean, like people using my content without having permission to do so, commercially that is, and in some cases literally just taking the content and re-uploading it as their own. To be more specific, I'm referring to NFTs, and it seems that everyone has a very strong opinion about NFTs, and I do have a bias because I'm having to deal with the legal side of it. People making money off your content without your permission. And talking to the different companies that are hosting their content has been interesting and frustrating, and it's prompted me to learn a lot more about the legal side of things. So I've been studying copyright law and commercial licensing law, and it's interesting now keeping track of how the IRS in America are now kind of catching on to this unrealized profit digital asset trade. I think their main concern is the reuse of the same money to make something look like it has an inflated price, but I need to wait and see how that's enforced. But anyway, yeah, so I was planning on doing a video saying to people, look, there's a misconception in the community that I think some of us creators are realizing, and it's that when we're putting content out for free, audience members, more specifically young audience members, don't realize that if you're not given the commercial rights to that content, you don't have it. Because I've now been speaking to people that have been using the free content resources, like the artistic content inside of those packages, and thinking that they had full rights to use it for absolutely everything, which isn't true. If you're not given the commercial rights, you don't have the commercial rights. That should be common sense, but it's not. People think that if they're given it for free, then they have free rights over everything. So I was going to do a video kind of like, this has to stop, and then like talking about it and maybe trying to put a funny twist on it as well. But again, it wouldn't really be right to do that during the sponsorship series, so that's one of those ideas that's kind of been put to the side for now. So I've been working on Biogen. It's been going a bit slower than I wanted, but that's because, as I said, the original announcement video came out before I knew for sure whether the sponsored series was going to happen. So I was like, okay, don't waste time, just do it. And then obviously the series started, so I'm like, okay, now I need to juggle these two things. Progress has been carrying on. Obviously when the series ends, I'll be able to focus on it more full time. But then also in December, the second half of December, I think I'll be in America. So I'll need to see if I can continue working on things out there, unless Biogen's already been released by that point, which would be ideal. Yeah, I think I'll try and make that happen, but we'll see. Okay, also Black Friday. So every year I do a Black Friday sale. I'm going to start it on the 24th, I think. Subject to change, but it should be a 50% off all products, and the code should be Black Friday, or one word as usual. I may or may not have a chance to mention it on the main channel, because again, if the 7th video is not out by then, I think it's next week from this point, then I probably won't be able to mention it. But if that gets out quickly and then I have like another video lined up, then I probably will be able to mention it anyway, technicalities. But regardless of that, I'll probably mention it on the email list, and Grant Abbott mentioned that he might try and mention it in the video that he's about to do about Black Friday promotions. As for the new house we're moving to and future studio, things are going okay, albeit slow because of solicitors taking their time, not our side, rather their side. But things are moving along at a bit of a steady pace. I'm just in this phase now where I'm ready to try different approaches for my work and content and stuff. But like right as I was about to start that change, I signed up for this like 2-month agreement. But since that's coming to a close, I can now start and think about some changes that I'm going to be making. So after this 7th video is out in the sponsored series, expect to see some changes for how the content is laid out on the main channel. And provided that things go according to plan, expect to see much more stuff on Gumroad. I've been thinking a lot recently about, hi, bigger camera, about my policies, because I have policies for life and work, which I guess might be a bit strange, but I suppose there's quite a few people out there that have policies, and as I have new experiences, I refine them and make them, I guess, more useful or more realistic. And that extends from personal to professional life. So I have like personal policies in regards to like what do I do if a medical issue pops up? There's a series of things that I do to kind of make that easier to deal with. Also things like relationships, things to look out for, kind of like the amount of time I can spend doing things, when I know I should be taking a break and not taking a break and stuff like that. I have policies that I've kind of written down for that. And it's not like I'm kind of stuck to some weird routine. It's just all of that subject to change. I just write it down so I can remind myself. Because if there's any other YouTubers watching, I think they'll resonate with the fact that when you're making content for people and you're kind of balancing that with your life, you're always going through different ideas of how to make it better or more efficient or easier for you to do, or the alternative if you're feeling ambitious and want to go like hardcore, refined business mode. And every possible way of doing things you have already considered. You've considered every possibility already, but for one reason or another you haven't gone for like any specific path. But the thing is, like a few months down the line, you'll think about the same ideas you already had and you won't be able to remember why you didn't do them in the first place, but there was definitely a reason. And this happens on a loop. Like you'll want to do new things and you realize that you wanted to do them before but you didn't, and you remember them again, and then you forget them, and then you remember, and it kind of goes back and forth. So that's what policies help me with. They kind of like remind us to say, hey, this is what we want to do, this is the reason why we wanted to do it, this is just a record. So it's like saying, I recognized it here in this moment, in this point in time, I have had an idea. I acknowledge that at some point I'm going to forget about the reasons why I had this idea and why I want to act it out. So this record is now me passing this on to my future self. So now, for example, since I've done this sponsored series, I'm going to look back at this experience and go, okay, it's time to refine my sponsorship policies. So it'll be things like the requirements I have for sponsorships in the future that will change because of this experience. But that applies for pretty much everything. Like I've written policies for how to respond to emails and comments and stuff like that. Even checklists for things like if we're releasing a product, like what are the steps that we take to get that out there. And it's just handy because, like I said, if you're doing something important business-wise, like releasing a product, chances are you're probably not going to remember all the steps you need to take to get it out there. I mean, you know objectively, functionally, how all of the websites work and what you need to do, but sometimes you'll forget specific things or specific places that you need to tell people that it exists. So policies, if you like, are like a personal guidebook or Bible telling you how to run your own business. So that's why it's important for me anyway. It occurs to me now that putting all the policies together into a book of some kind might actually have value to it, but it would probably make me look very strange. Anyway, I would like to add some more news pieces into the main channel as well as all the regular stuff. I don't necessarily think about the type of content I want to put on the channel, rather the feeling I want people to have from the channel existing. That's something I have spoken about before, but one of the things I want people to feel like is that it's a TV show almost. I don't like putting stuff out with large periods of time in between, and it's not necessarily just about maximizing view counts or anything like that. I've also been thinking a fair amount about addiction recently, and the term addiction kind of existing in a couple of contexts here. So yes, the more kind of chemical addiction, and in this case I'm just thinking about like caffeine and alcohol, but also the habit-based addiction. So for things like the frequency, I'll check comments and stuff. I'm checking comments like all day, every day. Like if someone puts a new comment on the channel, I've seen it within about 10 minutes max, unless I'm preoccupied like playing a game or something. With a constant battle that I've mentioned several times on Blended Nest and this second channel already, and I guess this serves as a video log and diary of it, is how much are you supposed to care about how well content is received when weighing that up against the enjoyment you get from making content. I don't really enjoy making the content. I enjoy the content existing. And what I mean by this is something that's always fascinated me, right? So if I go over here, there's a very specific feeling I always got from having my portfolio public, which was once it's public and you know people can have a look at it, you just want to keep adding new stuff to it because there's an addictive sense of value you get from stuff existing. So I think, oh, I want to put another piece of artwork on here because it makes the value feel better. It's an obsessive thing. It kind of reminds me back when I was younger. I was obsessed with gemstones and stuff. I loved how they looked. I just thought they were like so pretty, but I also thought they had value to them. And they do in my world. I suppose it depends on the gem. But like a kind of dragon guarding its hoard, something about having more gems feels good. Strangely enough, I don't know if I feel the same way about money, to be honest. I'm not that obsessed with money, but something about like the physicality and like the visual beauty of gems and stuff makes them valuable. And a lot of my life is to do with visuals. So I had this kind of similar feeling with the portfolio. It's like, okay, here's my little precious gems. They might not be perfect. Most gemstones aren't perfect. They're not refined or crafted in any specific ways. They just exist. They've just been slightly polished and they look nice and you can sell them cheap, depending on the gemstone. But they're still precious to me. And I get a kind of similar feeling from the YouTube channel. It's fascinating to me how one thing can serve so many different purposes. A video is a creative outlet to reduce anxiety, generally. If I'm not making anything, I'm getting anxious very quickly. It's like I have an inbuilt compulsion just to make stuff from nothing. If I was stranded on a desert island, I know I would be making stuff out of sticks immediately. It's a way to give back to the world because people can enjoy it, they can become informed, they can be inspired by it, they can interact with it. So it's a way to connect with people as well. It's also a way to make money, so it keeps us stable and able to continue doing the stuff. And it satisfies that sense of value as well. So that's why I find this line of work really interesting, because I think videos represent different things to different people. And for me, it represents a wide range of things for a wide range of purposes. Some things that money can't necessarily solve, which is why traditionally, and even now, I don't take sponsorships unless there's a very, very good reason for it, like an exceptional reason, because I don't like giving up any of my creative freedom whatsoever. There's no amount of money you can give me that will make me give up the entirety of my creative freedom. You know, if someone came to me and said, I'll give you $1 million if you just say exactly what I want you to say, make exactly what I want you to make, and you have to let me review it and make any changes I want you to make, I'd be like, no way, not for $1 million. Firstly, it will harm my reputation. Secondly, the value of my combined business will exceed $1 million eventually. Thirdly, the amount of stress it's going to put me under is not worth it. I value freedom above absolutely everything else. I would rather close down the entire channel and just walk away and like get a normal job where I can just live normally instead of giving up all the creative freedom and doing exactly what someone else says. So yeah, I guess I'll just reiterate that. I would rather pack up the channel than take $1 million and say what someone wants me to say all the way through every video, subject to any change they want. If I lose all my freedom, then it's not worth it anymore. So one of the reasons I said yes to the NVIDIA sponsorship was because they guaranteed me creative freedom in the videos, which I very much appreciate. Anyway, I'm interested for the future. It's funny looking back at these thumbnails, you can see where I was uncomfortable putting my face on the thumbnails, but it made a big difference for the discussion ones. No one would have watched them otherwise. And then we start getting slightly more comfortable with the is university worth it? And as we come on up, we got all the new ones. It does still feel a bit weird, but now that I've kind of been expressing myself comedically a little bit more, not so much in the new videos, I mean there's a comedy segment in the new Biogen one, but I feel like if it makes someone kind of smirk or they find it a bit funny, then it's worth doing. I could talk about that for a while as well. I mean, I'm not going to do it in this video, but feeling more comfortable about expressing yourself. So just being more funny in general. I mean, I go through waves daily where I feel like being more sensible and calculated, and this is what I would technically call like the logical mind or the programmer mind, where this is the kind of mode where I'm good just to do like the very raw technical work. And then there's the other side of the mind where it's like, okay, it's time to be expressive and funny and try and get people engaged and get them to feel something. And that is arguably the better mode to be in for making videos, but you can't really ask for that all the time, because I don't think I have any control over like what mode I'm feeling like being in at a point in time when I'm recording a video. So that's why it's interesting to see, because there are some people that are like, oh, you know, he's got such a dead face, or you sound like you're not interested in it, oh my god. Oh. And then at other times, if I feel like letting it out, it's kind of just over the top. But I prefer that, to be honest. So we'll see. I think I'm going to have fun in the future. It's going to be cool. All right, thanks for listening to my rambling. Hopefully you've been doing something productive, or you've been listening to me if you got this far. But if not, I can't blame you. I mean, look at this pretty face. Okay, I'm kidding. All right, go. Skedaddle. Do something more productive than listening to me. And I will certainly try and keep up with the videos on this channel when I get more of my time back, so that should be soon. All right, so I will see you later.